Merry Mate, and welcome to Jupiter's Radiance. I'm Taylor, and so for this week we are going to be going over the Ignition Phase card spread. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. So this card spread is to support the building energy within us, especially when we're starting like a new phase, or when I say a new phase, I mean like a very active type of phase, not necessarily like when we talk about like going into winter and how you're entering a phase of rest. Like this is more of a phase of coming out of rest, or initiating the next phase from whatever groundwork you've already put in. So point is, you're either about to hit the ground moving or you already are moving, but you're not about to go down into a period of rest. With that, let's go ahead and go over each of these things. And so we start at the center. This is going to be the spark. So this is essentially the idea. This is the motivation, kind of what you're working on, just what is at the core of what you're trying to do. And then we have card number 2 here is going to be about those previous lessons. So these are going to be things you either literally quite just recently learned, or maybe they're things that you've learned over the years. So it just depends on your experience, but that's going to be your previous lessons. Now number 3 is going to be your actual starting point. So your spark is your idea, is not necessarily where you start. Your starting point is here. So this is going to be a little bit more of a literal thing to let you know kind of what your first step is and where your foundation currently is at. So this is also a good spread to help check in on projects if you are feeling a little bit chaotic and like maybe a little bit on fire. On that note, then we have card number 4. This is going to be all about resources, but external resources. So things that are outside of you. And then we do have 5. This is going to be the plan. So this is going to be advice for how to move forward and to keep this spark ignited, essentially. All right, let's go ahead and get started with our collective reading. Okay, so we have our spark. I apologize, I'm not going to pronounce that. And it's stubbornness. So this is telling me, just based off of this card, it's telling me that there is something that we are holding on to, and it feels close to tradition, but it also feels a little bit more closer to our core. So something that is very sincere to us, which is I think why the word tradition comes up, because a lot of times tradition is kind of like a nesting doll, right? It's at the very core of like many people. But that doesn't necessarily have to be a tradition in this sense. It could also be in this sense regarding the fact of getting back to ourselves and what it means to be ourselves. And so let's go ahead and take a look at what our previous lessons are. And I apologize, this is because my camera is a little short. So we have the Kodama, memories are the past. So this is a little literal because this is about past lessons, and this is letting us know that it is going to be, especially with the word memories, that it is going to be about longer memories that you've kind of cultivated for. So something that comes through with this is seeking the pattern among those memories. How often have you kind of sat back and been like, oh wait, there is a theme among these like 5 memories in my childhood I never realized. Like, I don't know why they're so prominent otherwise, right? A lot of times like we can be like, oh, this was trauma, like I know why that's prominent to me. But like, for instance, for me, something that sticks out to me for some reason is like, gel pens was so exciting when I was in like 3rd grade that we had like a club. It was called a witch club though, but your wand was a gel pen and you needed that to get in. And so that's just something that sticks with me. And you know, it's like, oh, well, why does that? And then here I am writing, and there's other stories that go with that, but that's just like an example because it's so out of pocket. Like, why would I remember that? So going through your own memories in that same context and finding the theme and being like, oh, interesting. Because then you'll know you kind of do have a little bit more experience too, is another message coming through. And you'll be able to build up a toolbox to better support the core of yourself, because that's typically why we have an emotional toolbox, is to be able to not only help support our communication with others, but to be able to advocate for ourselves and be like, oh, that's right, you know what, I actually did this really amazing presentation. This next one is going to be even easier. So that kind of energy. Our starting point, the ice drake, is going to be constraint. So I think what's interesting about this is this energy is a lot very internal and kind of coming back into your own energy. So with constraint as your starting point, this is letting you know that any connections that maybe you need to draw back your energy from, to do so, and then that's when you're going to be ready to start moving forward with the plan as we discuss here. But let's go ahead and look at your resources. Otherwise, we have dragon family, so we have family and relationships. So that's so funny. So even though you are kind of constraining yourself to more supportive relationships, those supportive relationships are encouraging that core within yourself. Something that I find I'm saying often is, if someone makes you doubt yourself, that means you need stronger boundaries with them. And so that's exactly what we're seeing here, is you're going to be releasing people who don't encourage that confidence within yourself. Okay? And then finally, our plan. We have baby dragon. Sorry, it's just a very interesting theme here. And we have innocence. So the plan is to just keep it lighthearted, is really how this comes across. So if the energy isn't flowing, if it feels like you're forcing anything, like if the relationship feels hard and difficult, you can always take a break. Like in most relationships, you're able to communicate and say, hey, I need to be able to take a step back so I can build a better foundation for myself before I try to attach someone else's foundation to me. And that's really, so that's just kind of like following the energy, because it also could be, again, going with the family, you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't had this much fun in a long time. Then that's a sign to continue hanging out with those people who are encouraging that joy inside of yourself. Okay, so some very powerful messages. Super loving it for this week. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more weekly spreads, and feel free to comment below. Let me know how this is resonating for you, as well as maybe if you're using it with any of your Oracle Tarot or Angel cards as well. And I'll see you guys next week. Blessed be.